let's take a look at some of the teams that have qualified, because Tunisia joined Senegal, Algeria, Morocco, and Burkina Faso to qualify even ahead of match day 5 and 6. And you can see Tunisia there, and also Algeria having also booked their qualification to the tournament to be hosted in Ivory Coast. Morocco have also qualified for the tournament, and Burkina Faso, Senegal are also in there to have qualified. And of course, South Africa returned after missing out in the last edition, and of course they've also qualified, and also in there is Burkina Faso also haven't qualified for the tournament. Now, after match day 4, group standings for the qualifiers are looking quite interesting, and of course I'll be joined by Daniel Corantin, my colleague Daniel Corantin, to take a look at the standings of the group after match day 4 of the AFCON qualifiers, the teams that are likely to advance, and the dynamics in each of the groups. We start off with Group A, where Nigeria are in alongside Guinea-Bissau, and that's an interesting group there. Of course, you can see Nigeria with 9 points, Guinea-Bissau 7 points, Sierra Leone with 5 points, and Sao Tome with just 1 point there. So at the moment, it's looking interesting between Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau, and Sierra Leone, all in the mix as far as qualification is concerned. Let me just bring in Daniel Corantin. Daniel, thanks for joining us. And we're just taking a look at Group A, and after match day 4, this is how it is looking like. I mean, who are you tipping to be able to advance out of this group?
I think I'll tip the top two. Guinea-Bissau did a very good job during this round, beating Nigeria in that game in Abuja. So they put themselves in a very good position. I think they are just one win away from qualification. Both themselves and Nigeria will face both 3rd and 4th in the group. That's Sierra Leone and Sao Tome and Principe in the last 2 games. That looks pretty good. And that looks pretty good for them. So for me, I think that with the advantage, or the 2-point advantage that Guinea-Bissau has over Sierra Leone, I tip them to qualify. All they need to do is to avoid defeat against Sierra Leone and then beat Sao Tome and Principe, who are basically the whipping boys of the group, and I don't put it past them. So I think it will finish in the same order that we are seeing. I think Nigeria will top this group, Guinea-Bissau comes second, Sierra Leone, and then Sao Tome and Principe will follow that.
I mean, interesting. Nigeria will be looking to also, at the very least, go to Ivory Coast and, try and win the tournament there after missing out on the World Cup. But in Group B, it's also looking very interesting, because you just look at the points build up there. Burkina Faso have already qualified, but what's remaining is which team joins Burkina Faso in the qualification. Togo and Eswatini have 2 points, and at the moment, it almost looks like Cape Verde will be the ones to advance.
Most certainly. If it doesn't happen, it will be one of the biggest miracles in African football, because Togo are not on form. Togo and Eswatini have been basically the whipping boys of this group. What Cape Verde needs to do is to just get 1 more point. That's basically what they need.
Yeah.
A point, and then be done and dusted, and secure their place in the after AFCON next year. But Cape Verde have looked pretty good, even from the World Cup qualifiers. If you remember, they were in Nigeria's group, gave Nigeria quite a tough time in that group. They finished second, quite close to the Nigerians. So I think it's about time we saw them back at the AFCON. I think they've done a very good job during this qualification campaign. This group was one of the groups where people were not too sure about who qualified. Burkina Faso, of course, being the top seed, and looked like they will get that top spot. But from the 3rd to the bottom, we were not really sure. And Cape Verde have done a very good job by reaching this point where they basically just need a point to qualify. So I think we'll also finish in this order. I think Burkina Faso tops this group. Cape Verde comes in 2nd place. And then the 2 of them book their spots at Ivory Coast 2024.
Yeah, wait to see. Will Cape Verde join Burkina Faso? But let's take a look at Group C now, because that's another interesting group. Just look at the points build up over there, and you see Namibia with 5 points. You see Cameroon with 4 points, because that was an interesting victory over Cameroon. In South Africa, Namibia beating Cameroon by 2-0. Burundi have only 1 point, but in this group, despite there being 3 teams, 2 teams will qualify, and it almost looks certain that Namibia and Cameroon just might clinch the qualification for Ivory Coast 2023.
Yeah, that's where I feel Cameroon are really lucky. They were absolutely poor in this round of games. They've not been too convincing under Rigobert's song, but it looks like the World Cup bought him some time, bought him some won over some critics. If you watch what they did at the World Cup, although they still went out in the group stages, that final day victory against Brazil put some goodwill in his back. But during these qualifiers, look, the first appearance that Cameroon is making since the World Cup, they've been very poor. They drew at home, needed a late goal to draw at home against Namibia, and then they went away to lose. It could easily have been 2-0 had Vincent Abubakar not scored that late consolation goal. So I think Cameroon are very lucky that two teams will still qualify from this group, because had it been one, all Namibia had to do was just to avoid defeat in the last day, and I think they would have made it through. So it's Cameroon are lucky, but good for them that Burundi is the last team in this group.
Yeah.
For them, Burundi never really gave a fight.
Yeah, I mean, Burundi, definitely not expecting Burundi to offer any competition against Cameroon or Namibia. But then in Group D is another group there. And looking at the point build-up in Group D, you see Egypt, 9 points. You see Guinea, 9 points. And the bottom half, Ethiopia and Malawi also having 3 points. It's almost predictable that Egypt and Guinea might just advance to the next stage of the competition. But what is possibly surprising for some people is why Egypt have not qualified as at this point of the qualifying round. It does suggest that, look, the teams in there are proving quite stubborn.
Yes, most especially Guinea. It was always going to be very difficult for Egypt to have qualified by this stage. I think it's with this group, the class is there. The top two are way better than the bottom two. And I'm sure at the start of the qualification process, both teams knew that is Egypt and Guinea knew that they won't qualify. But it's as to who will top the group. That's what we are not too sure. If you look similar records, they've lost to each other home and away. So it's one of those things. And I feel like Egypt did themselves some good with this window, scoring a lot of goals against Malawi that they did. They won 4-0 in their return leg at Malawi. So it's helped their goal difference and it's boosted them. Ethiopia have been quite disappointing in this, especially during this round. I felt like they should have at least gotten something out of that Guinea game. But again, if you look at the fact that both games were played in Morocco, none of these teams got home advantage in this. It can also give some explanation as to why Guinea won it quite simply. Because if you are playing at a neutral venue, most of the time the superior quality of one team will take over the game. And that's what we saw. I feel like if Ethiopia had got the opportunity to face Guinea in Ethiopia, it could have been a different story. But yes, as you say, I think, again, in this group, this is one of the groups that I think will end how we are seeing it. Maybe Malawi and Ethiopia will switch out the bottom places, but Egypt and Guinea will definitely book their spots during the next round.
Well, as for Group E, we already know what we've spoken about Group E. We had some extensive discussion about Group E over there. Ghana in the mix. You know, Ghana with, 10 points there. And, of course, you see Central African Republic in there, Angola in there. And, of course, we're just waiting. Possibly in the next game, you get a win, and Ghana might just be able to advance to the next stage of the competition. Of course, the contest keenly is between Angola and Central African Republic, who joined Ghana, because at the moment, there's no way we are going to say Ghana is going to have to. Ghana is going to go through. So, but let's get to Group F now. G, F now, and let's see how that is also looking like. Of course, over there, and you can see in Group, that's an interesting one. Danny, quick thoughts on that group.
Yeah, Algeria have already booked their place. Yeah. I think it was the competition was laid bare during this round, and I feel I was highly disappointed in Tanzania because they went away to Uganda to get the 3 points. Yeah. And then at home against Uganda, basically all they had to do was to avoid defeat to give them a proper boost going into the last game. And then they lost. So it sort of just leveled out the playing field. And now that's why you see both of them on the same points. And I think Tanzania are going to face Algeria in the last round. That is extremely difficult. So I feel like Uganda are in pole position. Yeah. Or I'm not sure. Whoever is going to face Niger in that last game seems like they have booked their spots at the next AFCON. So it was really Tanzania's to lose in this one. Basically because of, and mainly because of what happened during the first game, last Thursday, when they faced Tanzania, won that game away from home. And they should have carried that momentum on at home to beat Uganda, but they failed to do that, failed to draw, ended up losing the game. And now they find themselves in a very precarious position.
Yeah, interesting one there. Let's take a look at Group G now, because that's another interesting one after match day 4. This is how Group G is looking like. And you can see that Mali still top of the group with 9 points. But then you see Gambia and Congo, 6 points. And bottom half there, 3 points for South Sudan. Of course, you can take South Sudan out of the equation. But between Gambia, Congo, and even Mali themselves, that's an interesting group that could go all the way to the end of the games.
Yeah, very, very interesting group. And this is what competition is about. Again, this is one of the groups that when the initial draw was done, football fans had their eye on, because you can't really separate the quality from this. Yes, Mali has a lot of quality, but if you look at what Gambia did in the last AFCON, how resolute defensively they were, how difficult to break they were, and how efficient they were going forward also. And you put Congo's recent form during the qualification process. With teams like that, you really don't know who is going to make it out. So I think Mali have done themselves a huge favor, especially by what they did during this window, getting that 3 points margin between themselves and the chasing pack to give them the advantage during the last 2 games. But for Gambia and Congo, whoever misses out will really feel hard done by, because they've done remarkably well during this.
And even particularly for Gambia themselves, because they've been, rising. Their performance in the last AFCON was pretty impressive. And, they'll definitely be looking to return to the AFCON tournament in Ivory Coast. But then the next group also, you just take the standings of the next group, and you can see that's Group H, Cote d'Ivoire. And then I want to help us educate our viewers, because Cote d'Ivoire are hosting the tournament, and ordinarily you don't expect them to be part of the qualifiers. So what happens here? Is it going to be Cote d'Ivoire plus some other team, or what's going to happen in this group?
So the interesting thing is that I think it was during the last AFCON qualification process where CAF decided to add the host nation to the qualification process. So if you are a host, you don't need to go around looking for friendly games. You can play these qualification games whilst you are basically already qualified, but it helps you also prepare for the competition. Yeah. So that's why we see Cote d'Ivoire there. It doesn't really have any bearing on whether they finish bottom or they finish top. They still have their place guaranteed at the competition. So it really doesn't change anything. Okay. And I think it's the second and the third, whoever finishes, the 2 teams that finish below them, just like what we saw in the Cameroon's group with just 3 teams in there.
Yeah.
So whoever finishes, whether Cote d'Ivoire finish bottom or they finish top, they are automatically qualified. So this is basically a group of 3 also, just like what we saw in the Cameroon.
Okay, interesting there. So between Zambia, Comoros, and of course Lesotho, we're going to see either of the 2 teams of these 3 qualifying for the tournament. And just look at the point build-up. Zambia having 9, and you have Comoros with 3, and of course you're having Lesotho also with 1 point there. It almost looks certain that Zambia might sail through, but then Comoros and Lesotho, one of them definitely stand a chance.
Yeah, definitely they do stand a chance, and that's the beauty of this qualification process. I'm sure Ghanaians will not want Comoros back in that competition after what it was. So film to Lesotho to try and pull an upset and make it through. But look, you have to admire Comoros and the work that they've done. You beat what is in front of you, and when you find yourself in a group like this, look, they were never going to top a group with Zambia and Cote d'Ivoire. But you can always sneak through, and we've seen it happen. They've won the game that they are supposed to win, that is against Lesotho. And if they can repeat it again, then they've already secured their spot at the next AFCON. And that will be back-to-back AFCONs for them.
Yeah, that will definitely be impressive. Let's just take a look at our last rounds of group standing. So you can see that's Group I, Gabon, 7 points. And then this is definitely one interesting group there, Group I. You have Gabon with 7 points. You have Sudan with 6. Then you have Mauritania with 5 and DR Congo with 4. Pretty much all of them stand a chance of qualifying with 2 games left.
Yeah, very, very interesting group. And basically, save the best for last. This is the most competitive group that we've seen. And I think it was blown open during this international break, where we saw the 2 teams or the teams winning against each other, and all of a sudden, the group was blown wide open.
Yeah.
DRC still have an opportunity of even topping this group if they're able to win their last 2 games and results go elsewhere. So you really cannot tell who is going to qualify. But based on pedigree, I will go for Gabon and DRC. I think DRC will sneak a surprise and clinch that ultimate spot or that second spot to qualify.
Well, we'll wait to see Gabon, Sudan, or even Mauritania or DR Congo will try and it will be dramatic if DR Congo ends up qualifying for the tournament there. Now, let's take a look at the very next one there, and as far as the group standings of the African Cup of Nations qualifiers are concerned. And this, you have Tunisia, however, qualified. They defeated Libya to qualify with 10 points, and Equatorial Guinea is in there, also in poor position to qualify. Danny, I think you might agree with me that Equatorial Guinea will do everything they can to try and hold on to, at the very least, get a draw, a win or something, even 2 draws, and they just might be able to qualify for Ivory Coast.
One draw be enough for them.
Well, one draw will be enough.
They just a point from their last 2 games. A point to take them to 10 points. And even if Libya win their next 2, Libya will still for 9. So all Equatorial Guinea needs to do is to draw, get 1 out of 6 points. One out of possible 6 points, and they've qualified. I think they'll get it. I think they'll get it.
I think they can get it. I think they should be able to get at least a draw against Botswana. They should be able to get at least a draw against Botswana.
They will be.
Let's take a look at our last rounds of qualifying groups there. You can see Morocco have already qualified. South Africa also qualified in there. Libya out of the tournament, not making it there. Group 3 teams, and of course, the first 2 have qualified there. Let's take a look at the next one, and you see that that's Group K. And the next one you see in Group L, where Senegal have also qualified, Mozambique, Rwanda, and of course Benin, all in contention to try and qualify. And of course, the point build up there is really interesting. You want to see what Mozambique can do, try and get a draw and a win, or even 2 draws, or even a win. Just try and get a little points build up there for themselves, and they just might be able to qualify. The contest between Rwanda and Benin was interesting. You know, Rwanda went to Benin to try and get a win, and Benin went to Rwanda, you know, and also got a point there. So it's an interesting dynamics in Group L. And let's just take a look at the final group, and so that's the final group there. But Danny, just your final comment on pretty much even this group and the others that we just saw.
Yeah, this one, it's quite painful, you know, for when you look at some of the 2 previous groups that we saw, you look at the points accumulation of the second and the third team and how well they've done. And you look at this group, and a team that has 4 points is sitting in second place. A team that has 3, a team that has 2 is sitting at the bottom, but still with a chance of qualifying.
Yeah.
It just, again, what I was going to say, you beat what is in front of you, and some will manage to sneak through, and sneaking through is the most important thing. So for Benin, it's not yet over for them. They've been very poor throughout the qualification. They've played 4 games, yet to win a game, but they still have a chance of qualifying for the AFCON.
Yeah.
And sometimes having a big team in your group helps you, because Senegal have done everybody else a favor by beating everybody else and giving everybody an opportunity. So for Benin in the last round, they will have to get a win. They can't. If they get 2 draws, they are out. They need at least 3 points and hope that both Mozambique and Rwanda drop points in that one. Or at least for Rwanda, if they get a draw and lose, and for Benin, if they are able to get 1 win and even lose the next game, they will be able to qualify. So it's a very interesting one. We should keep our eyes open when June comes.
Daniel, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate that as an current team. My colleague, Joy Sports. Let's do some boxing now. And of course, former world champion Isaac Dogbe says he is calm and poised to defeat Robeza Ramirez on Saturday, the 1st of April, for the vacant WBO featherweight title. Well, he's been speaking to my colleague Nathan Alato on our special series, In Camp with Isaac Dogbe.
I try not to think about it too much.
Okay.
And I try to stay calm, you know, because once your mind starts racing, everyone is different. I like to stay calm, and I'm going into this fight, you know, with calm demeanor. You know, I don't have to rush my punches. I don't have to rush anything. Just take it cool, and 1 point at a time, 1 round at a time. I know that. I know what I'll bring into the ring. I know I'll bring it to the table, and I know that by God's special grace, you know, once I touch him, we are looking to put him to sleep.
What do you make of the, what's been happening, on the other side? I always like to ask about that. Obviously the training, the team. I mean, your head trainer, the assistant, everybody is reviewing tapes. Looking at strategy. Sometimes they come back and they switch something around because they thought, okay, we looked at this fight and we thought he did this. You know, do you think about Ramirez? Think about him when you're focusing?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I think about the fight. I think about. I try to imagine how it's going to go, and I try to, you know, put myself in a position where I know that I'm coming out in a way that, okay, he has to worry about me. He has to worry about what I am bringing to the table. You know, I know he's working. I know he's working hard because we are pros. You know, this is our job.
That's Isaac Dogwe. This full episode airs tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. here on the Joe News channel. Do make a date. And of course, we'll build up to that bout on Saturday, the 1st of April. That's all we have for you in Prime Sports tonight. With me, Razak Musbau. Thank you for being